So you're a parent and your child is struggling with an eating disorder. You're in the right place. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Here on this channel, we talk about how to heal from childhood trauma. We talk about how to heal and how to love yourself again after or during an eating disorder. We talk about how to love yourself. We talk about how to build confidence and how to really create a life of happiness that you love. So if you're here today watching this video, you're taking a great step in trying to better your life. This video is for any parents out there who have a child who is struggling with an eating disorder. Now, I struggled with bulimia for 6 years. 6 years I struggled, and it was the hardest thing that I had ever gone through in my life. And what made it harder is I was so ashamed of myself that I didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew for 6 years. And now I'm passionate about showing people and teaching people how to love themselves and how to find the happiness within themselves as opposed to looking for it in other places to feel that fulfillment. So parents, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to what I have to say about this. You're doing amazing things and wanting to help your child, and let's get into it. So I'm going to break this video down into 3 parts. The first is facts about eating disorders that parents should know. The second is going to be things that I wish that or I felt like I was lacking in my childhood, and many of the dozens of people I talk to who are struggling with eating disorders feels like they were lacking, or they wish they had more of, or they wish that their parents understood. And 3, I'm going to give a free resource to anyone out there who is struggling with an eating disorder, who needs a community, who needs to feel accepted and a part of something and loved and not crazy. So stick around to the end because I want to help you. I want to help your child get the support that they need. So eating disorders are shameful. They're embarrassing. They make us feel less than. They make us feel like a burden. They make us feel like we're not loved. And it's really hard to speak up about these kinds of things because of how shameful they can be and how they make us want to curl up in a ball and hide. So I want to start by just giving some information that parents might find helpful in navigating the situation with their child. The first one is that eating disorders are psychological disorders. Eating disorders are illnesses. It is not a choice. Nobody chooses to have an eating disorder. Eating disorders are the #1 psychological killer out of all of the psychological disorders. This is a problem of the mind. This is a problem of the brain. When we hear comments like, just eat more, just eat less, just eat this, just eat that, it doesn't matter, because at that point it's our eating disorder brain that is speaking, and it is a medical illness that needs to be taken very seriously. It is just as serious as cancer or asthma. And research shows that the earlier somebody can get treatment for their eating disorder, the better the prognosis. It is very important to treat this as seriously as it is, because this can also aid in preventing criticism or judgment of the child, because this can also lead to them feeling like a burden, feeling more shame and guilt, and just feed into what is already going on within their eating disorder. It's also important for the parent not to blame themselves. The truth is, we don't know the cause of eating disorders. There are many things that can be traced back to some form of trauma that the child may have endured, some form of childhood trauma, but at the end of the day, we don't know. There's a lot of research that still needs to be done. But this is important to understand, because just solely trying to find the root cause or trying to figure out what's really going on underneath it is not going to fix the outcome of the eating disorder per se. Because you can fix the mind, or you can try to fix the mind all day and night, but unless you prioritize getting their physical weight back to a place of health and refueling their body so that their brain is functioning properly, there's no form of therapy that is going to be effective. A malnourished and starving brain is not working effectively. The seriousness is that we need to prioritize replenishing the body and rejuvenating the cells and refueling the brain so that we can be in a place where we're thinking correctly, and then we can incorporate more of the mindset stuff and really deep diving. I'm going to put more information about everything that I'm saying and more in the description box below, and where a lot of this information comes from. But we're going to move on to the next section, where I'm going to tell you some of the things that I felt like I was lacking growing up from a child's perspective. Okay, I'm 22 and I struggled from like 15 or 14 to 20 or 21, something like that. And there's a lot of things, me being so close to the age where I was in high school, and I can relate to a lot of young people. Okay, I'm a motivational speaker. I've spoken in schools, I've spoken at events, I've spoken at retreats, and I connect with young people on such a level that sometimes is harder for a parent because I think we all know that kids don't always listen to their parents. I know, crazy, right? But a lot of this is due to our brain development and us valuing the opinions of our friends more and valuing what our friends have to say and our friends' thoughts and our friends' opinions more than our parents. And that's just due to brain development, which is a whole different video. But I'm sharing this from the perspective of a child. So I felt like I needed talk of food and positive body image and loving myself to be normalized. This was never taught in schools. I never taught this in schools. And unless you are someone who is fortunate enough to grow up in a household where they instilled confidence and instilled loving yourself and instilled healthy eating and instilled having a good relationship with food at an early age, you most likely didn't learn it at all. And so you're just left to what the media is telling you and all these things that are thrown at you by how you're supposed to look and what you're supposed to eat and how you're supposed to be thin and have a thigh gap and all of these things. But if this is something that was spoken of more and that was normalized and there was a positive example in my life of what positive body image looked like and not dieting, I probably would have had some of those practices instilled in me too. But the truth is I didn't. And this is not at fault of my parents. First of all, they probably didn't know. Second of all, a lot of our parents, a lot of you guys out there, I'm sure, have had struggles with weight or body image yourself. And so if you haven't fully mastered the art of loving yourself in all of your forms, how are you supposed to lead by example and show that to your kids? Yes, you could be trying. Yes, you could think you're doing a good job. But this is something that has been in our society for years and years and years. The weight loss industry is a billion-dollar industry and it is preying on our insecurities. So that mixed with maybe some form of trauma that a child may have experienced in their childhood, leaving them vulnerable and susceptible to the opinions of others and caring about what other people think, this can really lead them down this rabbit hole to feeling like they aren't enough. 2, I wish that when my parents had, I'm sorry about the light. I wish that when my parents had indicators that I was struggling, that they came to me and they talked to me about it in an open, loving, and kind way. The truth is, no one talked to me about anything. I didn't get any kind of support or anything because I guess my parents knew, but they just wouldn't say anything. And sometimes they would make joking comments here or there. Again, no fault to them. They didn't know. But I would get comments by my family and they would say stuff like, what are you going to go throw up now? And I know that sounds terrible and bad. And it would make me embarrassed and shameful, but it was never, when they caught on, it was never brought to me in a loving and kind way. So I always felt very alone and it just suppressed all of these feelings that so desperately needed to come out. Sorry, you guys, my camera died. And it's the next day, hence why I'm wearing totally different clothes. But to get back to my points, the third point kind of goes into the first point, and it's really that I never had a positive example of body image growing up. A positive example of somebody who was just loving their body and teaching me to do the same. I know they're very similar, but it's true. Leading by example, especially when you're young and especially when you're a sponge and just absorb everything around you, it's incredibly important to have these positive role models in that sense as well, because growing up, especially as a young woman, we are demonized and looked down upon unless we have this societal standard of a body. And although things are changing rapidly, we still have a long way to come, and there's a lot of people who don't know this information. So young women especially are susceptible to feeling guilty about themselves. And I don't want to discount all of the men and the boys out there, because there definitely are societal standards for what a boy should look like as well. It's a huge problem. So the more we can invite a body loving and a body accepting environment in our households, I feel like that has such an impact to change the way we view about ourselves. So I want to end by saying this. I have put together a group for anybody who is struggling with self-love, self-image, self-worth, and it's called I Love Myself. This group has been around for a little bit, but I'm going to commit to spending much more time every single week in that group to help anybody who really is struggling with their self-worth or self-love. Now, it's not eating disorder specific, and that is for a reason, which I'll get into maybe in another video or something like that, but anybody is welcome, and I want it to be a place where we can really learn the things that we were never taught in schools growing up, we were never taught growing up. And for anybody to have a community and fill their feeds with positive energy, that's what this group is for. So I would love to have you join. I would love to have your children join if this is something you think they could benefit from. So this is a place where we come for love and accepting, and I'll leave the link for that down below, along with a link to my Loving Your Body Through the Holiday Seasons workbook that goes hand in hand with my 1-hour holiday training special, Loving Your Body Through the Holiday Seasons, right? So I'll link that below for you too, along with the worksheet or the workbook that you can give to your child or anybody who needs it. All right, guys, I'm sending you love, and until the next video, I am out of here.